your girl GS Carr. And before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to let you guys know that tomorrow, Friday, March 9th, I am having a Facebook party and I would love for you guys to join me. So yes, you get to party without having to put clothes on in your PJs if you so choose. We're gonna have games, we'll have prizes, and they're pretty good prizes if I do say so myself. So I would love for you guys to come out and support and just spend some time with me. You guys will get to, see what I'm working on, sneak peeks and stuff like that. Get to ask me questions, just get to know me a little bit more. So I would love for you guys to come out and join if you are free. So if you are, I hope to see you then. So let's get into the content now. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but I used to be a straight up, no holds barred pantser. I mean, I plotted nothing. I literally sat down with a blank piece of paper and a pencil, and wherever it took me is where it took me. And this was cool sometimes, I got to, let my creative juices run wild. But then at the same time, it wasn't always the best because I would finish a story and I wanted it to be, 20,000, 30,000 words, and it was like 10. Or I would be sitting there looking at the paper and I didn't know where I wanted to take it. I was hit with like writer's block. I didn't know where I wanted it to go, so it just wasn't always the best. So as I've kind of matured in my writing and started taking some different classes to really learn the craft and to really take my natural talent and mix it with more of the technical skills, I've learned a lot. And so one particular class that I took at UNCC was really fantastic, Writing Fiction Like a Pro. I'm going to put the link in the description box below. I really encourage you all to check it out. It was a really fantastic class, and I'm not getting any kind of anything for telling you guys that. I just really enjoyed the class a lot. But that class taught me a lot, and so I want to share just a snippet of what I learned with you guys. So whether you're a pantser or a straight out plotter, I think there might be a little bit of something for you, both of you guys. So I encourage you guys to continue watching, and I hope you really learned something. So there are 9 key plot points in every story. There's the hook, the backstory, the trigger, the crisis, struggle, epiphany, plan, climax, and ending. So I'm going to go through each of those in a bit of detail. The hook is pretty much, most people know about that. It's like your first line, paragraph, or whatever of your story that just hooks the reader, that really grabs their attention. Most readers stop reading after like the first paragraph, page, chapter if you don't really pull them into your story and like literally have them sitting on the edge of their seats almost from the beginning. And you don't want that, obviously. You don't want people returning your books. You want them to keep going and keep enjoying it. And so if they can't even get past like the first couple of chapters, first sentence, they're not going to. So your hook is very important. It's the very beginning of your story. That first sentence, first words, first couple sentences that really just hook your readers and really get them interested in the story. The next is the backstory. Now this isn't what you think of where, most time you think of backstory, it's the stuff that happened when they were a little kid that is not really relevant to the story but kind of made them who they are, and it's more so for you as the author to kind of just understand your characters better. No, when I say backstory in this instance, I actually mean, your story, and it's kind of those events and that kind of lead up to your trigger and your crisis and your main conflict in the story. So let's just say you read romance, right? And you are reading the book, and so your backstory would be girl comes home and she finds her man cheating on her, and then she goes out and she's like, screw this, I need time to myself, I'm going to a deserted island so that I can just, get over men and blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of your backstory. It's the part of your story that kind of leads up to and like sets the stage for the crisis and the tension that comes in your novel. Next, we have the trigger. And the trigger is what sends the character into crisis. Okay? And so let's just take that particular instance. So let's say we're going to go more of a suspense route with that story. So she gets to the island, she's having a great time or whatever, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she receives a threatening death note saying, pay me $1 million or die, ho. I don't know, whatever. And so that's the trigger. It's that point that kind of just like, oh my goodness, like it sends her into the crisis mode. So the next we have crisis. One important thing is that you always make sure that your character has like this deeply rooted internal flaw. And that's kind of what they're going to be battling in the entire story. And not something surfacey like they don't like the way they look or something like that, but something deep like not being able to trust, having like no ability to trust people. So the crisis is that moment where that deep-seated flaw really kind of is brought to the surface. So like I said, back in my example, so she had the trigger of the letter or whatever. So keeping with that same story, she has the deep-seated flaw that she cannot trust anybody. So the trigger sent her into crisis because now she doesn't have $1 million, but the billionaire that she found on the island, you know, that she's maybe had a one-night stand with or whatever, he was supposed to stay there as a one-night stand, but now she has to go back to him and ask him, but she can't trust him because she can't trust anyone. And so now she has this crisis of, does she trust or not? And, but she needs him to get the $1 million and blah, blah, blah. Okay? And then so the crisis leads into, obviously, the struggle. So now she's struggling with that. Does she trust him? Does she not? She has no choice. She doesn't have $1 million, but they're going to kill her if she doesn't get it. But she can't trust people. What does she do? So it's leading it into that struggle that happens. And even you can throw in, and this is very basic, but obviously yours would be much more in depth than that. But, throw in other little random things that happen and, that really just make your story complete and her struggle like really complete, and so you can see it. And granted, every crisis and every struggle and tension doesn't need to be external elements that make it happen. Like there doesn't always have to be a bad guy. It could honestly be something internal to your character, but we need to see that tension because without it, your story is kind of flat. So yeah. And then after the struggle, the character always has an epiphany. And you can sometimes even see it. Sometimes, the writer almost makes it literally epiphany. But it's that moment where your character realizes, oh my goodness, I'm an idiot. He's got $1 million. I need $1 million. Why can't I trust him? He's got, Boy Scout honors and badges, and he's on the board of every nonprofit, and every single woman he's ever dated said he was just a stand-up gentleman. Like, why am I being retarded and not trusting him and struggling against him in this moment? Like, duh, my lack of trust is just not even, why am I even doing it? So they have that moment where they just realize, A, that they have the flaw, B, that the flaw is it's keeping them from what they really need to do, and they, really just kind of have that aha moment. And then comes the plan. So this is where they plan to obviously overcome. So she realized she's being stupid by not trusting the billionaire. He has $1 million. He's an upstanding dude. So she works with him, and they create a plan to get the $1 million and somehow, get it to the dude or whatever. I don't know. I'm making this up off the top of my head, people. So yeah. So they come up with a plan to solve the problem. And so even during the plan, of course, you can throw in little things here and there that, kind of almost knock them off the plan, and everything like that. But now they're starting to really dig to and build to the climax. And the climax I like to think of as that moment for your readers, where they're sitting at the edge of the seat. Oh my goodness, is she gonna die? No. And then it all just is released. We figure out what happened. If there are any subplotty type things, it was the babysitter all along. Although I never introduced babies, but whatever. But it was the babysitter all along in the kitchen with a knife, and you're just like, oh my goodness, what? Never saw that coming, and all that good stuff. So the climax is that moment where you just get that just release of the tension for the readers. And then you have your ending. So after the climax, you do not want to drag out your ending. Your ending should be pretty quick because you don't want the reader, you don't want to be throwing in more elements of tension and your reader's going back up like, wait, what? Huh? I thought I had my moment. Like, what's going on? So you want to just kind of wrap everything up and give them your happily ever after or your not happily ever after, whatever you want to end it. But yes, your ending should always come pretty quickly afterwards. Now, if you guys are a bit more advanced, you know that there are 3 acts to a story, and each of these plot points do fall within certain acts. So within Act 1, certain things should happen. In Act 2, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not going to go into that in this video. I might do it in another video. But again, all of that was explained, and it was explained much better than what I did, honestly, in the course. And again, I gladly encourage you guys to take the course, or just anything. I think it's really important as writers to always continue to hone your craft. And you may have a natural gift at writing, but you still need to learn new elements, and it helps you to stretch yourself. You know, if you're, for example, in dance and you're always only doing ballet, if you learn a little bit of hip hop and incorporate that, it could bring a whole new dimension to your ballet or to your dancing. And it's the same thing with us. We may have a certain thing that we gravitate towards, but by learning different techniques, it enables us to just bring a whole new dimension and depth and just amazingness to our writing. So I encourage you, like I said, even if it's not the course that I have listed, if it's anything, I really encourage you to just really hone in your craft. So that's all I got for you guys today. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it, comment, let me know what you did like. If you didn't like it, let me know what you didn't like. And how can I just make these videos better for you guys so that you really are learning or just getting something out of them. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.